When you look at the marketing between these two characters, it's like night and day. It almost seems like Kuro's entire marketing team took a vacation across the entirety of version 1.2. And now, since they're promoting Shorekeeper,
it's why we are back.
Kuro is, without a doubt, bringing out the big guns for version 1.3. The excitement for Shorekeeper and the Black Shores expansion as a whole is at some of the highest levels we've seen across Wuthering Waves' release. Coming off the tail end of a widely regarded filler patch, this version is bringing with it plenty of new additions across gameplay, and of course, 2 new characters. Shorekeeper in particular has been getting a lot of support, with a whole animated short detailing her lore and background more than a week from her release. And of course, who could forget, an entire livestream dedicated to the update, something that Wuthering Waves players haven't seen in months. The last time we saw one was at the very launch of the game. It's clear that Kuro Games is doing something very special for the launch of version 1.3, and it's been something prepared across the game's versions since all the way back to 1.0. There's a reason why Shorekeeper was drip marketed so early. A reason for why Jeja seemed like a filler story character, and a reason for why Zhongli Yao was given out for free. These were all parts of the preparation for the absolute bloodbath it'll be for our Astrites and Poles in the next 2 versions. Today we'll be breaking down why this is the case, diving into how Kuro's early marketing impacted the player base, how version 1.2 was the best filler patch a player could dream of, and how the release and marketing schedule of the next 2 limited 5-stars will work amazingly to drive a huge amount of spending across the player base. They are doing a lot. As always, if you're enjoying this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. Starting all the way from its very early drip marketing back in version 1.1, the hype for 1.3 has been building up for quite a while. With the releases of Jinxi and Changli, some of the most popular characters in the game, doing a fair amount of damage on people's pulls and Astrite, news of Shorekeeper's arrival had the player base in shambles. They saw the drip marketing for Jeja and thought it was safe to spend, with the majority of the player base uninterested in her design, but the news of Shorekeeper changed everything. With many players skipping Jeja and having no need for additional copies of Zhongli Yao, 1.2 was the perfect filler patch in preparation for a new version. Players had all the time and events that they needed to save up their pulls, knowing that Shorekeeper was coming up next. And the news of Camellia's banner at 1.4 only added to the value of this filler patch. Players that were previously critiquing 1.2 for its lack of story development or interesting characters are now singing a different tune. Now, they're very happy that they had the chance to save. That's how big of an impact story involvement and world integration can have on a limited character's popularity. Jeja's abrupt entrance into the story, with players having no clue about her existence prior to version 1.2, was a recipe for a lukewarm reception. Other characters, specifically our next 2 limited ones, have been cooking for a lot longer. Camellia is a character that has been with us since the start of Wuthering Waves. Who could forget this cutscene and its absurd seed metaphor after all? This cutscene alone made Camellia one of the most popular characters in the community, and someone people were saving for since the launch of the game. However, she wasn't the only one teased at launch. What some players might not have realized is that Shorekeeper has been here as well, and taking a look at the version 1.0 launch trailer, it's clear that those butterflies we see flying across the cinematic are related to, if not her, and they have been following us and the story's progression throughout the entire game. Jinxi and Changli were also featured front and center in this introductory cinematic, and proceeded to launch their banners with the huge update that was Mount Firmament, complete with its own map expansion, new exploration mechanics, and new echoes. With characters and main story quests tied to this region, there was an incredible amount of appeal for these characters that translated fantastically into revenue. When you compare these 2 to Jeja and Zhongli Yao, it's clear what the difference was. Shorekeeper and Camellia are slated to launch with pretty much everything we saw across Mount Firmament, with the new map expansion, mechanics, and echoes. But Kuro is doing even more. Kuro has done for version 1.3 what they've done for no other version. With basically 2 weeks until the update, they treated the entire player base to a full-length animated short, teasing us on the lore and background for the new character, Shorekeeper, while also giving hints on the entire Black Shores cast. Shorekeeper has been passively watching our stories since the beginning of the game. We've worked together with Encore and Alto, and had an aggressive, innuendo-filled standoff with Camellia. The Black Shores are a confusing faction as a whole, with no real knowledge given to us about their ultimate role in the world or story, and players are looking for answers. The next 2 versions are pretty much a promise to give them. Compare this to what was at stake in version 1.2. This trailer, when we factor in all of our experiences across 1.0, is a complete change of pace, and the tonal shift in the environment is clear. The Black Shores are dark, and some could even say post-apocalyptic, and it's an interesting callback to version 1.0 following the brightness of 1.1 and 1.2. This trailer was great, but the real kicker is what Kuro is following this trailer with, and that's a whole dedicated livestream. When versions 1.2 and specifically 1.1, with its massive content update, had no live streams at all, it was understandably a huge disappointment for Wuthering Waves players, especially considering how many had believed with 1.0's launch, we'd be treated to regular live streams for future updates. Players also had a fair number of critiques on the structure and pacing of the launch livestream, which focused on the number of filler activities like quizzes or eating challenges that kept viewers away from the in-game content they wanted to see, with players witnessing the quick and fantastic response from devs regarding issues with the game, all the way from launch to present day. We also wanted to see how they'd improve the quality of the live streams moving forward. Until now, unfortunately, we haven't had that chance. But now, with version 1.3, we do. And knowing that the last 2 versions had no live streams at all, it's fair to say that the expectations are quite high for 1.3, and from the content we've seen teased thus far, it should be an amazing one. With this livestream likely giving answers on topics like Shorekeeper and Yuhu's kits, as well as the potential for rerun banners, this actually adds a lot more value to our free Shang Liao, with many expecting fantastic synergies with Shorekeeper and an upcoming Yinland rerun banner. This free character could lead to a lot more spending down the road. When it comes to the release of Shorekeeper and Camellia, this is the most marketing and preparation we've seen for character releases to date. With the earliest drip marketing, the incredible integration of these characters into the past version stories, and the sheer quantity and early scheduling of their promotional materials. 1.2 was more than a filler patch. It was your opportunity to save your pulls for the absolute behemoths we'll be seeing in versions 1.3 and 1.4. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please hit that like and subscribe button. Peace out.